Go.
Recording.
Everyone, my name is Jeremiah Hanks. I'll be giving you a speech on the Second Amendment. So, in 2005, a Gallup poll of 1,000 individuals, various denominations, so households or individuals, percentage of gun owners. If you look, it's very, very diverse. No one category really stands out. 47% of the males polled had a firearm. You know, but like I said, as you look, it's very diverse. There's no one group where like everyone has a firearm. So, sources, I use the Cornell University Law Department to get the Second Amendment actual verbatim. Dave Kopel, David E. Young are both Second Amendment scholars. David E. Young was actually cited 6 times in the 2008 Washington, D.C. v. Heller Supreme Court decision. And then some of my facts I got from justfacts.com on gun control. So, Second Amendment is written. A well-regulated militia, being necessary to the security of a free state, the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. This is what's in our Constitution right now as it stands. The right to bear arms is an individual right. It goes back a long time. In fact, the reason the Bill of Rights was added to the Constitution is because when the states were looking to ratify it, they felt that the federal government's power wasn't sufficiently regulated. So they wanted the Bill of Rights added into to limit the power of the federal government. Many of the states passed constitutions, their own state constitutions, before they ratified the federal constitution, and in those state constitutions they have precursors to the Second Amendment. The first one you see is in actually Virginia. It says the conventions of a number of states having at the time of their adopting the Constitution expressed a desire, in order to prevent misconstruction or abuse of its power, that further declaratory and restrictive clauses should be added. Therefore, they want the Bill of Rights. Okay? So, one of the main authors was George Mason. Now, a bit of history, George Mason was a leading figure in the militia movement leading up to the Revolutionary War. That's why he has such a strong belief in the importance of militia, people being armed, because the British government tried to disarm them leading up to the Revolutionary War. The actual clause in the Virginia State Constitution is that the people have a right to keep and bear arms, that a well-regulated militia, composed of the body of the people trained to arms, is the proper, natural, and safe defense of a free state. That standing armies in time of peace are dangerous to liberty, and therefore ought to be avoided as far as the circumstances and protection of the community will admit, and that in all cases the military should be under strict subordination to and governed by the civil power. One of the biggest problems they saw was that the British government, the Crown, had a standing army and used it to oppress the colonies, so they didn't want to repeat that mistake in America. That's why this clause was put in the Virginia State Constitution, adopted verbatim in several other state constitutions, and then ultimately shortened and adapted into the United States Constitution as the Second Amendment. This is kind of listing some of the reasons why it was so important. The British tried to outlaw and disarm the colonists. They forced the colonists to quarter British troops, which is why you have later amendments, search and seizure. The troops could just take whatever they wanted from you. And you didn't have the power to resist because you didn't have the weapons to defend yourself. That's why the Second Amendment was so important as an individual right. You, as an individual, have the right to have the weapons and equipment you need to protect yourself and to protect the country, safety of home and state. So, weapons and equipment in common use. The point I'm making here is that these are what we use in military forces around the globe. If you were to have weapons that you needed to defend the country, you would need to be trained in them. This kind of equipment. But not just the weaponry, but also the encrypted communications, the body armor, things like that that are restricted to military personnel and police personnel should be available to all citizens so that you can form an effective militia. You have the equipment you need to when you show up for it. That ends my presentation.